Is there such a thing as too much love? Is there such a thing as too much fun? Messing around, wondering how it's taken so long. I'm really so strong. It's not too much at all.
Hello, everybody. The sun came out for this conversation, which I am thrilled about because it's been raining for like 5 days in Los Angeles. I'm very excited because today we are digging into what I think is a relatively opaque pathway. I don't think it's very clear. And so I have the luxury and honor of having Cynthia Adarkwa here with us today. Hi, Cynthia.
Hello.
And Cynthia is an Emmy Award winning Emmy Award-winning writer and producer of HBO Max's The Pit, which I'm sure you guys are all tuning into because it is a buzz for many different reasons. She was also a writer for Legacies, Saint X, and the Forest Whitaker starring Emperor of Ocean Park. A first generation Ghanaian American writer from the suburbs of the DMV, Cynthia went on to obtain her BFA in dramatic writing from the Savannah College of Art and Design. Cynthia's work centers on Black women finding their place in the world, telling stories rooted in humor, truth, and purpose. Thanks for being here.
Of course, thanks for having me.
So much of what we do in this podcast is showing people blueprints to figure out fulfilling lives. And so we've peeled back the layer on independent music and acting and podcasting, but we haven't really talked about screenwriting, which I think is a really like the same way, like how do I become an actor and get an agent and get cast? Screenwriting sort of the same thing, which is there's not a clear one way to do it. And so can you just start with telling us, like, how did you even know you wanted to be a writer? And then the expression of that being film and TV?
Yeah, so it took me a little while to figure out that I wanted to be a writer. I kind of grew up, I was a big reader. So I would like as a kid, I would like ferociously read chapter books, the books that were assigned in class, all that stuff. And I just found a lot of like solace in reading. So it wasn't really until I went to college that, figuring out who do I want to be? What do I want to do? Do I want a 9 to 5? I initially went to business school and I found that very boring. It wasn't the right fit for me, but I was really enjoying my English classes. So I was like, let me explore this a little bit more. So I actually did a study abroad program called Paris Noir African Americans in the City of Light in Paris. I was studying the greats like Richard Wright, Josephine Baker, James Baldwin. And that's when it kind of clicked for me that summer in Paris. It kind of clicked for me. Oh, you can be a creative, you can be a writer and survive. I
Mm.
think, like, as the child of immigrants, it took me a minute to kind of like figure out, oh, I don't have to live their American dream. I can live my own. So that's really when I switched and I just kind of started looking into like writing programs, taking my love of reading and just like making it my reality. So, yeah.
Really, it takes a lot of guts. I don't think at that age I had the courage to pursue a creative path because my parents, like yours, my mother's an immigrant, a lot of rhetoric around it being a plan B type of life. Like that is not, you can do it as a hobby. And if it eventually makes money, you can do it. But it's not, they definitely were not on the train of that's a career.
No, I agree. And I don't think my parents got on the train for a little while. But, my family had gone through a lot of things. And, at that age, you're just like absorbing what's happening around you. And I wanted to have some control of what I was doing with my life. And that's how I expressed it. Like, I'm just going to follow this passion and see where it goes.
It's always like once you have the evidence, once they can see it, they're like, oh, great. But it's like until you have the evidence, they like think you're crazy.
Absolutely.
So, can you tell us how you were like, okay, I want to be a writer and applied to writing workshops? What made you be like, screenwriting is really where I think I am best suited?
Okay, so I found at the time I was going to a different college. I left that college. I was looking into other schools. I found the Savannah College of Art and Design through my research, and I saw that they had multiple writing programs. So I kind of had the choice between professional writing and then another program called dramatic writing. And the reason why I chose dramatic writing, this is going to sound silly, it sounded fun. It was playwriting, screenwriting, TV writing, and I was like, that sounds cool. I love watching TV, I love watching film. I want to know how the sausage is made, so I'm going to try that. And I felt like if that didn't work out, the skills would still be able to transfer to other styles of writing. But honestly, I just wanted to have fun.
You were drawn to the drama.
Exactly.
A little bit of drama. I get it. I get it. Okay. So you take this class and then walk us through, because this is the part that gets very blurry for people. It's like, okay, how did you become an Emmy Award-winning writer? How did you start to build the blocks that opened up this pathway? Because it is so hard to figure out how to navigate what is an industry where there's not like, there's no job postings to be in a writer's room. That's not how it works. So it feels very challenging to even start.
Oh, absolutely. And we're both Virgos, so we know we like our rules.
Facts.
I like a game plan. I like steps. This career doesn't have those. So that was hard to adjust to. But pretty much I graduated BFA in dramatic writing. I had some things written. I think at the time that I graduated, I had written a feature
Wow.
and yeah, I know it through my program, through my school and those classes. I'm not saying it was great, but I had written a feature and I had written a couple pilots. So I had to make the choice, am I going to move to LA or New York? I moved to LA because, from what I understood at the time, there were more opportunities to become a writer if you were in LA. Most of the writers' rooms, all that, were here. So I moved to LA. At this point, it was 13 years ago. So it
Did
takes time.
did you have a job? Like, did you move to LA like, sight unseen?
Okay, I had visited LA once, didn't know much about it. I think I had visited Redondo Beach because my my roommate's sister lived there. So that's what I knew about LA, but I did come out here with a job. I worked at Trader Joe's. And so
Good
I had
benefits.
okay, and you get a discount on groceries, okay? So I had after I graduated, I had moved home to Silver Spring, Maryland, got a job at Trader Joe's, transferred that Trader Joe's job to California. And so I came here with that job.
A Virgo always has a plan.
Okay. I was like, I need money. I bought a car when I got to LA. I stayed with my roommate's family, in their extra room while I worked and saved up a little bit more money. And then I got roommates closer to LA.
Okay, great. So how long were you at Trader Joe's before you got into your first writer's room?
Okay, so interestingly enough, I didn't make it into my first writer's room until 3 or so years into my journey here.
This is very
I
important
went from,
information for people because it's like this is like a these are hard paths, and so they take time. If you haven't made it happen in a year, it's not necessarily an indicator of anything.
oh, absolutely not. I think that it takes at least 3 to 5 years to see some sort of like foot in the door in this industry. Lucky people, sure, maybe it happens in a different way, but if you're kind of pounding the pavement like I was, it takes time. So I went from Trader Joe's to being a PA first, and I was a PA on American Idol. And at that time, I had found that job online, a production staffing site. And that's how I started to grow my network. Amongst the other PAs, they all kind of had the same aspirations, writing, directing, producing. So they became my community. And I slowly started to get to know more people. And so from being a PA to my first writer's room, I'm thinking back to it. Twitter was involved
Mm,
because a lot of writers were on Twitter at that time, and I had followed an account that it posted like trivia questions and you got prizes, and one of the prizes was notes from a working TV writer. So I won one of those questions, and at the time I didn't know any TV writers. So I'm sending a pilot that I had written at night while I was a PA and a receptionist during the day, and getting notes back, find out it's anonymous. And I'm like, oh no, this is the only TV writer that I've had contact with. So I email back and I'm like, do you need an assistant? And thankfully she did. So that's, I know. It's like luck, timing, and like being bold to ask the question.
I say shooting your shot, because if you had been like, "Oh, I don't know this person," this is the stuff where like I look back in my early 20s and there was a level of just like arrogance I carried. I think I'm finally getting back to this vibe, but I was like, I have the confidence of a mediocre white man. Like I was just going for
Okay.
shit. I was just going for shit. And then I like, got a little bruised and battered by the world, and now I'm back and I'm like, let's get back to that mentality. There's a way to do it now with a little more finesse than I had at maybe 21. But the point is, I think that's so amazing when you go for it and then it works out. It shows you it was worth the risk.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it helped that the pilot that I had sent, the notes that I got back were very positive. So it seemed like the writer liked my work. So I
Yeah.
was like, oh, she seems to be vibing with it. Let's again shoot my shot. So I ended up working with her. She was working with another writer who became the showrunner of a show called Sweet Vicious on
Hmm.
MTV, Amanda Lasher, created by Jennifer Caton Robinson. And they brought me into the room as the writer's assistant. So that's how I made my way into the writer's room for the first time.
And I just want to talk about like, being resourceful. You were like, I'm not going to let the fact that I don't know any of this business limit my opportunity. You were on Twitter, you were aware of these things, which so much of how I broke into certain industries was just Googling and looking at message boards till I found the email to get the job. Like it wasn't always knowing somebody. That's more of like later stage in my career. It's been more of who I know. But in those days when I
Hmm.
had no network, I was just hustling and going for it, like scouring the internet. And I think that's so cool that that's your story, because what a brilliant, resourceful way to enter the biz.
Yeah, yeah. It honestly was great. And like, I wouldn't be where I am today if like that stuff hadn't happened.
So how did you find your way to the pit?
So from being a writer's assistant to the pit. I did that job as a writer's assistant and then just kind of worked my way up again, grew my network, got to know more writers. The rooms that I was in, I was, getting to know writers and producers. And I ended up on Legacies. And through that, I met a writer named Sherman Payne, and he brought me on to his show called Emperor of Ocean Park. And that show was being produced by John Wells Productions. And we ended up doing that right before the strike. And after the strike, it came up that there were a couple other shows that that production company was going to be doing. And one of those shows was The Pit. And so they threw my name in the ring for The Pit. And that's kind of how it came to be.
Awesome. That's what like the point is also like building good rapport, and those relationships really do matter, especially in writers' rooms.
Absolutely. Because I mean, your reputation is everything, and the work you do,
Yeah.
also is everything.
And so can you tell us a little bit about how it feels to be on an Emmy award-winning show?
Yes, it feels cool. I mean, obviously, like to be on a show that people watch is super cool, people enjoy is super cool. And then just to get these accolades is amazing. I feel like it especially hits home because it is about healthcare workers. Like I love all forms of entertainment. We can go big, we can go small, but this show like really puts that spotlight on these people that do this important work from day to day, and they feel so seen. And I think, a lot of the audience feels seen. Like The emergency room is, I mean, you go there in at your worst moments, you know? Like I've been there no matter what walk of life, like you could end up in the emergency room and just like to be representing healthcare workers and Americans is awesome. And then yeah, an Emmy on top, I can't complain.
What people don't realize is so often when you sign on to these shows that are brand new, you sign on to be in a writer's room and you have no idea what the public reception is going to be of the show. And so there's some risk involved in that. And so when it hits, it's incredibly exciting because creatively it might be fulfilling, but that doesn't mean people engage with the work. And so
Right.
to have that happen is sort of like lightning in a bottle for a writer or a showrunner, I think, because you just can never predict unless you're writing on a show that's already been established and you join the writer's room. So you take this leap of faith and then when it works, and like also, beyond just it working, like I think what's special about the pit is that art is inherently political. We're living at a time where this is one of our mediums for driving change. And so it's not just a show, it's a show that's saying something.
Oh, absolutely.
And how do you guys thread that needle? What are the ways that you decide what it is that you're prioritizing in terms of messaging and what you want to put out?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of internal discussions, and honestly, we start off each season having like a wide range of conversations with experts, with medical experts, literally just sitting, usually on Zoom, asking questions, learning, absorbing, just trying to understand what is affecting people right now. And that's really where it all begins. So it's with our expert talks, and then we just kind of like pick and choose what really is standing out to us and explore that.
And for you specifically, as you share your pitches and ideas in this room, what is it that is important to you to bring to this show?
Things that affect Black women. As a Black woman, I I write to be seen, to express. So if there are topics that particularly affect Black women, I get very like excited is the wrong word, but like I'm all about it. So
Yeah.
that really fires me up.
And how great to work on a show where every type of person can be represented in the container that is the emergency room.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you most appreciate about this show versus other shows that you've worked on?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think that when it comes to writing, like, this is kudos to my boss, Scott. Like, he does trust us, you know? Like, he has an amazing, strong voice. He, like, made this show. But, like I said, if there are topics that we're interested in, like, for me, it's Black women, he'll let us explore that. And that doesn't happen on every show, you know? Sometimes you just have to stick to a format, stick to a game plan. There's just a little bit more opportunity to be creative on this show. So that's super fulfilling. I mean, at the end of the day, the job of a staff writer is to fulfill your showrunner's vision and goal. And that's that's the job, you know? The bonus is to be able to put a little bit of your stamp on it.
Do you find that easy to shape someone else's voice? Because that's what's hard about being a staff writer. It's not just your voice you're putting forth. Every episode has to have the continuity of feeling like a shared voice. Do you find that challenging or does that come very natural to you?
You know, I think at the beginning it was definitely challenging. It's a muscle that you need to build. And I think a good exercise to build that muscle is to write spec scripts. So, spec scripts for TV are scripts of existing TV shows that you're writing, because that's pretty much what the job is. And we got to do that a lot in college. And then when I first got to LA, I was still in the practice of writing spec scripts for existing shows just to get that muscle going. So, I think that honestly really helped. And at times it can be challenging, like on a first season show, we're all trying to understand what the language
Right.
and format of the show is. But like, grateful to be on the pit. for season two and now coming into season three. So really understanding more what the show is, you just kind of build that muscle.
And how long does it take to get in the groove? Because I imagine, depending on the chemistry of the room, much like a sports team, sometimes it clicks and sometimes doesn't click. And you got to get in the groove and you got to like move as one organism. Does that vary show to show? Like, what does that feel like?
Yeah, I think it does vary show to show, but I do think it takes time. Most of the shows I've been on have been season one shows. So you're getting the pilot from the show creator, showrunner, and then it's like sometimes it's hard. Yeah, it's difficult to like, okay, does episode two look like the pilot? Does
Right.
episode three then look like the pilot? It really depends. I feel like with the pit being set in this hospital setting, this kind of one big stage play,
Yeah.
it leans into understanding what the show is. On some other
Right.
shows, you have multiple locations, and that kind of makes it a little bit more challenging. But yeah, it really depends. Also, genre.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends.
Is it ever like, because I find when I'm, working on this book that might take me 10 years that I keep talking about, that is only slightly further along today than last time I spoke about it. But I sometimes feel like it's hard to see the forest through the trees. And so when you talk about a voice of a show and you're looking at episode to episode by different writers, like how do you know that it's feeling like the same voice, I guess? Who decides
I
that?
mean, the showrunner
Yeah.
decides that. And that's sometimes where rewriting and being rewritten comes in because it is pretty much the showrunner's job to keep that voice consistent. So sometimes, honestly, it's out of my hands. Like, I've been on shows where I write my episode and then I give it to my showrunner, and my showrunner has to tweak it, rewrite certain things to keep that voice consistent.
Yeah, I imagine that must be hard to do because you're just
It can be hard, but it is part of the job. So learning to, take that gracefully is also
right.
a good skill to have.
Getting rewritten, you gotta be humbled and let it go.
Let it go. We all get notes. We all get rewritten. It's part of the job. It's gonna be okay.
Wow. I guess it's like when you're in a movie and you're like, "Oh, I can't wait." And then they cut your role and you're like, "Okay, well,
Yeah.
that credit that will exist on the IMDb that no one will ever see."
I mean, that also happens to writers too, like pre-greenlit rooms and mini rooms and all that stuff, those are pretty popular. And sometimes you don't get to the
True.
green light. You're writing scripts and then it doesn't get made, it doesn't get produced, it's never on air. That's hard. That to me would be the hardest.
No,
Yeah.
I have a friend, he probably had like 2 shows go to air, but he's probably sold 9 or 10. And like they get to the pilot stage and then they don't get greenlit to the full season. Listen, he's making a very good living. Let me just clarify.
Yeah.
Making a very good living doing that, but then you don't have the satisfaction of your work living. And so it's like you spent all this time, energy, and years of your life, and it's like, what do I have to show for it? I think that must be very hard. I know a lot of people are the development cycles that develop things, they never get made, and they spent now 15 years developing content with no resume to back it up. So in some ways, like you're an expert in development without actually having the thing to prove that you're an expert,
Yeah. Yeah. That's tough.
especially in a 3D proof world.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you could send your script around, which I think is useful when you're like looking to get staffed and all that stuff. But like if you're at that level that it sounds like your friends at, it's like, yeah, their stuff should be on TV.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough. Okay, so what do you think is your ultimate driver as a storyteller?
Ooh, that's a good question. I just love to explore the human condition. What makes us tick? Why are we the way we are? And yeah, it's maybe selfishly, it's like I'm trying to figure myself out. So I use writing and the page to do that.
What are threads you're pulling at now in terms of the human condition?
It's how how do I move and exist in the world? And my characters kind of represent that in this political state with these, racial tensions that we're still experiencing, finding love, figuring out how to do that in this modern world, where people just open up apps and then close them immediately.
Mhm.
It's that exploration.
That's a lot of medicine we need right now is to figure out how
Yeah,
to be more loving in a very feels like a very non-loving landscape.
absolutely. And I feel like it can be so dark, and just like also trying to find like those moments of light and humor. That's important to me. Like I love the dark stuff, okay, but I don't necessarily gravitate towards writing the dark stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just who I am.
Well, where we put our attention, right, is like how we make our life. And so, like you, I'm very fascinated by complexity, and we have to know the shadow to know the light to be able to hold high levels of joy. You have to be able to hold high levels of grief, right? Like you can't know
Hmm.
one without the other. And so, it's like obviously, every day in this cuckoo kachuku landscape, where every day I'm like, get me out of here! Like, what is happening?
Okay. Yeah.
Every day a new level of help. SOS. But what's funny is that despite everything happening, I am experiencing such a depth of joy that frankly I have not touched in a very long time. And I think it's because I've built a container for grief, but also because I can hold two things at once. I'm also deeply
Hmm.
putting my attention towards what is good and what is true. And there's like so many small moments that happen over a course of a day where I'm like, oh my God, that was so beautiful, or that was really special or joyful. And it's like small interactions with people that are just making me feel so, I guess, held or comforted or optimistic that like as horrible as what we're learning about in the world in terms of like the Epstein scandal on top of everything else, it's like I do really truly believe in humanity's capacity for good.
Yes. 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 I'm there with you. I feel like there's so much like ugliness and darkness, but again, yeah, in those little moments with friends, with family, where you're just connecting and being a person and, living, enjoying,
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
My sister's a nurse, so she obviously doesn't watch The Pit because she lives it.
Yeah.
It's given me a really good idea of what her day to day, like now she's in palliative care and she does some other stuff. We were talking and she was like, well, I don't think like everyone has a calling. And she like has this what I believe is a false limiting belief that she's not living her calling. And I said that it feels insane to me because you cannot do the work that you do and not feel a sense of something deeper. Like you cannot be a nurse and not feel on some level like it's a calling, especially she was in med surge. It wasn't like the sort of easier nursing jobs. Not that any of them are that easy,
Hmm.
but and now she's, doing palliative care and helping people in end of life. And I'm like, whether or not you figured out the right expression of your calling, I was like, you are living in your zone of genius. You just may not have figured out the right version of it. And that's what we have to remember. But we all have this calling, even if the work that we're doing now feels maybe a little bit off. You have to be like, am I in the right zone?
Right. Right.
Not all of us are so lucky like with you to be so clear and be like this is the thing and this is the path and this is like feels like the absolute right expression, which I'm sure changes show to show as well.
You know, it's funny. I was talking to my sister about this, and she was like, her observation of me is that I've always been steadfast in knowing I'm a writer, I'm going to be a writer. It's like, it's so kind of funny to hear that outside perspective because, I'm just living it day to day. Also, sometimes people think like their calling needs to be fancy
Yeah.
or no, and like it doesn't, it doesn't. I think that, yes, I'm on an Emmy winning show, so I get a little bit more eyeballs on me, but I would still be writing even if I wasn't, And if TV didn't work out for me, I would probably write articles. No,
Yeah.
novel writing seems very hard,
Yeah.
but I would probably make that attempt because I have that creative need. But yeah, it doesn't need to be fancy, it doesn't need to be big, it doesn't need to be flashy. It just needs to honestly feel right and feel good.
It's funny because my sister would say the same thing. She's always like, "You've just known what you want to do." Meanwhile, I feel like I've tried so many things. Like I'm living in the zone of genius, but I'm still trying to figure out what is that perfect expression of all the gifts. And
Hmm.
she's like, "You've always been braver than me. You've always just gone for the thing." Meanwhile, I'm like, "Girl, you're putting your body on the line." She is a community local political organizer.
Amazing.
She's exactly like Alex Preddy, which if ICE
Mm.
came to where she would have done the same thing he did. And when that happened,
Mm.
it was very rattling for all of our family because we were like, that would be her. Like she has no fear about putting her body on the line, which I think is much braver than doing what I do, which is like going for the job. Going for the job. I'm like, girl, I would like to muster the courage to be someone that bold and brave. I'm being on the front lines. Like I've always said, like when it comes to political resistance, I am very much the organizing the bodies in the back room. I am not a frontline girly as much as I'd like to be.
I mean, yeah, it's scary. I mean, I commend your sister. In a lot of ways, she sounds like my sister who has just such this like activist
Yeah.
heart. And, I learn a lot about what's happening in America and the world from her. But there are different roles, right? Like we're not frontline people, but we're still doing, I hope, valuable work, And honestly, I think especially as a Black woman and for other Black women, like don't don't be on the front line because enough, okay? Like we've been through
Yep.
enough. So
Yeah.
I'm my resistance, I find my resistance currently in rest, in joy, in community, because like everything that's happening is trying to break us down,
Yeah.
and I'm not gonna let it.
No. And like the ecosystem, right? Like it's like we need people attacking these problems from all different levels and zones. And you have to honor what feels natural to you and not force yourself to do something that's not right for you. And I agree. Like you should rest and find joy.
Yeah,
You've done enough.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Your sister though sounds amazing. Like,
Unbelievable. No,
yeah.
I admire her so deeply and seeing her like step into her full leadership has been like I'm just so in awe because I think we care about the same things in very real ways, but we approach them, we problem solve in different ways. And what she does takes so much grit, patience, just like energy to actively organize is a lot of work in a way that just on top of being a nurse, right? Like she's just like it's unbelievable. We need more people like that and
Absolutely.
she's doing good work. So I want to talk a little bit about uncertainty being a key part of being a creative and especially being a writer in entertainment over the past decade, there's been a tremendous amount of uncertainty with writer strikes. And frankly, the business is shrinking. It's a diminishing business. So currently. And so, how have you handled that, grasped that? Do you like when we talk about people now that are trying to break into entertainment? I'm like, well, also look where things are growing because this is a weird time for the business. It's not necessarily getting bigger. So how do you approach that or think about that?
Yeah, well, I entered the industry at a time where we were in the golden age of television,
Yeah.
peak TV, that's what they called it. So it did feel like there was a lot of opportunity and room for people. So I kind of snuck in that way. And then the writers fired their agents. And then the pandemic happened. And then the strikes happened, like so since peak to now, it's just been kind of hit after hit. And the thing that just kind of keeps me going is okay, I can't control these outside larger forces, I can't control the industry, I can't control a global pandemic, but I can control my own work and like my own output. So while I've been lucky enough to be staffed on shows, I always write my own stuff, I'm always exploring my own interests on the page. And so that's the one thing I can control is like the stories that I do tell, that's where I lean at times where it feels like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah,
It may be a little bit harder for, kind of this newer wave of creatives coming in, but I think that's where you lean is like on making content and writing things with your friends, leaning into the joy of it, and not like expecting, oh, if I write this, it's
right,
going to get me this. Write things that you enjoy and kind of see what happens because who knows what's going to happen this year, next year, the year after.
right. How much were you writing during COVID and the writer strike?
So during COVID, I was on a show and we switched from in person to on Zoom.
Ugh.
I know. It is what it is. Lucky enough to continue working, so I can't complain too much. So at that time, I was working on a show and then kind of writing my own stuff. I was writing a feature, which, like you, in the way that you were writing your book, I'm still writing this same feature.
Like you're like, okay, just day by day.
It takes time, you
But I think
know?
that for me, like there was another book I could have written that I shelved because the feedback I got was astute and it was basically just like, this is not the book. You're like, you're bigger than what's happening on this page. And I was like, yeah. And like, when you know in the pit of your stomach that someone's right. And I was like, I
Yeah.
could force this book. I could write this book, get it done, and I'd have a book, which would then also help me speak more at conferences, which was part of the original impetus for getting a book done. And then I was like, or I can write the right book. And that book is more complex, frankly, more personal because I was writing a self help book. This one's more like a memoir and messy and whimsical. And I was just like, oh, this feels like a lot of work. And it also feels scary to write. And the scary thing is the thing you should write. So
Yes.
that's what I'm working through now.
I feel that. I feel that. The scary thing is the thing you should write. But I also do think sometimes the easy thing, it's okay to write that too. I think both, like having something done is important,
Well,
you
I
know?
have like everyone will learn more about what that original book is pivoting into, and that is coming soon. So I did
Can't
not
wait.
abandon all of the work. I just transmuted the format.
Great.
So okay, so you are still working on this feature.
Yes, I'm still working on this feature and I'm working on my own stuff. And honestly, like even last night I'm working on this new pilot idea. And I just was like in the zone, like
Love
it
that.
and I know I loved it too. Just like things were falling into place. It just
And you were
felt
like,
so
"Year
good.
of the horse, it's working, it's working, it's working."
It really is. It really is. So
It's actually a very
yeah, I
good
mean,
year for us.
is it?
Yeah. Also, Cynthia and I have the same birthday. So I think everyone should know we have the same birthday. So it is, I just
Yes.
looked this up today. So it is an exceptionally good year for us.
Okay, tell me more because I need to know.
It's about work momentum and like
Okay.
just like especially if you're self-employed, but it's basically like a lot of that stuff will pop off. There's just a lot of opportunity, a lot of financial opportunity, career opportunity. I don't know. I'm obviously went a little deep cuts. And so Chinese astrology, the way it works is that you have your zodiac sign, which Cynthia and I are year of the dragon. But then if you go deeper, you can figure out what element. So I'm a water dragon. I don't know what you are because we have different birth times, but
Okay,
you can
okay.
get a layer deeper for a little more specificity on where it's all going.
Okay, cool. I like to hear that.
But horse and dragon are like the sort of golden ones of the Chinese zodiac, so they work very well together. So that's what I learned.
Okay, I love that. We like good vibes, good opportunities, all that stuff.
Yeah. So you were in the
Um,
flow state. You were pumping out the pilot.
in the flow state, doing the work. That's also something that's, major is that I have consistently been doing the work. I mean, I remember my early days sending you a pilot, Denise, and like you put on a live reading for this pilot that I had written. And like that was so amazing in my early, early days to like see that come to fruition. Did that pilot go anywhere? No. but it was part of growing my writing muscle, you know? So I think doing that work is important. Like every opportunity that I've had, I have had, I have been prepared,
Yeah,
honestly. Like, you know, that one writer who gave me those anonymous notes, she had something to note because I had a finished pilot to
right.
send her. When I got my first opportunity to be staffed, I had taken a class, a pilot writing class here in LA, because I wanted to switch from half hours to hour longs and I just wanted to understand hour longs a little bit more. So, yes, I went to college for writing, but I'm always learning. So I took that class, and out of that class, I got this pilot that got me staffed. So that's something that I think is has been a through line is continuing the education, continuing the writing, despite what
Mhm.
is happening in the industry and all that stuff.
We talk a lot about creativity as a discipline on this podcast because ultimately it's a habit and it's a discipline that you have to constantly be adding new skill sets and tools to your box. And that's, if you're living the, I would say, the right kind of creative life, it works in seasons, which we also talk a lot about in this podcast.
Mm,
So it's the harvest and the fallow period. And so in the fallow period, you're leveling up, you're giving yourself more tools so that your next harvest will be bigger and better. If you treat your creative life when it's not paying you as a full-time job, as your dream, slowly, eventually it pays you. Eventually you win an Emmy. And then, you keep expanding the toolkit. It's really
right.
like you're doing it because you love it. But I think that's the same thing as I go to the mat and, oh, how do I get better interview skills? How do I, like I'm reading the books of the authors that are in this podcast all the time. I'm constantly researching. I'm constantly being resourceful in terms of what I have to do. I had to learn all this stuff around SEO and like marketing for the podcast now that I'm doing it by myself versus when I had a team. All those things were like, I have to learn this so I can be a better creator and producer. And it just gives you a lot more agency and control. And frankly, you're a lot more like unfuckwithable because you know it all.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not easy, you know? Like
No, it's a lot
last
of
night
work.
I was flowing. 2 nights ago, I was like, fuck this. I'm closing my laptop. Nothing's coming out. But instead, I was like, let me watch some good TV, you know?
Mm,
I turned on The Leftovers, which I hadn't watched in a long time, and I
mm,
was like, that was like television, you know? So finding inspiration in other spaces if
yeah.
it's not necessarily flowing out of you. Like I'm constantly consuming what I feel is good art. And then
Mm,
if I don't feel like it's good art, understanding and kind of breaking down why isn't it and why didn't I connect with it? You know, I feel like there are so many forms of learning and writing that can be sources of inspiration. And I'm always super sus of writers that say they don't read, because, like, how?
just
Like,
love reading.
literally, how? Yeah, like, you should be reading. Maybe you're not reading novels, maybe you're reading articles, but as a writer, you should be, I think, reading, watching, all of the stuff.
Well, I mean, I'm all about boredom for creativity for sure, where you're just doing nothing or walking and not thinking. But you need new stimuli. Like so much of how we create in a world where nothing is wholly original is we're finding our unique message upon somebody else's original line of thought, right? So it's like you're
Mhm.
compounding all these ideas, synthesizing them, and then saying it in your way. And so you can't
Mhm.
do that if you don't like for me, I'm like, I love when I'm like, oh, these five authors are pulling the exact same threads I'm pulling. So let me see how they're pulling it. And then how does that inform my thinking? And how can we also work together to spread a larger message? I just think if you come from more of a collaborative mindset, which is also inherently more feminine, not this like hierarchical competitive mindset where it's like there's no idea that's totally original. So you trying to own something as your own without crediting the line of thinking that came before you or erasing wisdom, and frankly a lot of times we're erasing marginalized population's
Mm.
wisdom. And so I think it's really important to be like there's no shame in saying like this wasn't originally my idea, but here's what I think about it.
Right, right, and I feel like everyone has a unique perspective, right?
Exactly.
So adding your voice and your spin onto it is going to make it uniquely yours. I mean, I remember in my earlier days, I would write something and like I would see it on TV or or a version of it on TV and be like, "Oh my gosh, like my
Yeah,
idea,
exactly,
it's
exactly.
done." Like, okay, and like this fear of like, "Oh, someone's gonna steal my script or steal my idea." Like, okay, maybe come up with something new. Like that's the power we have is like you can we should always be coming up with like new shit, you know?
Yeah, but also obviously you're working on a medical show. No one's tired of medical shows just because they've happened before. You have to
Right.
remember is like I read these books and I'm like, oh, they're like pulling the same thread as mine. I'm like, I'm still reading the 7 books that are pulling this thread. It's not stopping me from buying the book. So it's like, who
Right.
cares if it's similar to another book on the market? It's not your voice. So that's what makes it
Right.
interesting. And then great, like you actually can help and support each other because you're talking about the same ideas. And so it's getting out of the scarcity mindset that you can't do it because someone else might be poking at it in a similar way.
Agreed, agreed, agreed. Like you have a unique voice. Use it. Express. Like we all need to be heard, I think. So don't let don't let the haters hold you back.
No, no, no.
Okay.
If the haters are watching, you're doing something right.
Agreed. Okay. Okay. Here's a funny thing that I ask my sister every now and then. I'm like, "You think my haters are mad right now?" And the thing is that they probably are.
Cynthia, sometimes you'll get a DM that wasn't meant for you, that's about you.
Mm.
I've gotten a few of those before where someone's saying some diabolical things about me in my DMs, and I have to
Oh
say,
my God.
oh, no, but you know what's so interesting about that is like I don't even care anymore because I'm in a place where I don't feel like I have a lot to prove. And I also just like I'm proud of who I am. I like who I am. I've worked really hard and spent a lot of money on therapy to be a person that I like. Like
Yes.
that's a cool thing. You don't have to like me, but I like myself. So one of the people wrote this thing and it was very crazy. And I wrote her back and I was like, so nice to hear from you. Haven't spoken to you in a long time. Hope you are very well. But I was like, whether or not you find value in what I'm sharing, that's okay. I'm sharing it because I found value in it. And I'm trying to support
Yes.
people in some of the things that I'm sharing. And it's not for everybody. And then, of course, she was embarrassed. But I think it's just like always being generous and kind. Why are we hating? We're hating because we're unhappy, we're jealous, we're miserable. Like it's usually coming from a hurt place. So I'm just like, I don't need to be a hurt person back.
Right, right. I mean, that's so honestly big of you because sometimes I'm like,
I
my
know.
snapback, it's gonna snap,
I
okay?
know.
Like,
You're a little more petty. I
I
I aspire to
am.
be petty. I will say this. I do aspire to be a little more petty.
Honestly, it serves, for me, it serves a purpose as well. It is, what is it? Like motivation.
The purpose of petty.
It's
Yeah.
motivation. Yeah.
Like I'll show
And
them.
so absolutely.
Mm,
On this journey to be where I am, I got a lot of no's, I got a lot of
mm,
rejections. I've been pushed in directions that I didn't necessarily agree with. And so to me, that's motivation to prove to those people, first of all, you made the wrong mistake.
facts.
Like, make better choices because it should have been me. Okay.
Facts. Facts.
And it's just motivation, it's just fuel,
Yeah.
and that's how I use my pettiness.
I think I'm a little more petty when it comes to like exes. Like I'm a little more
Mm.
my energy's a little crazier in Year of the Horse, I'm not gonna lie. So I'm like,
Yeah,
maybe we'll be trying this out again. But yeah, let the haters hate. Let them say whatever. You're watching, you're tuning in. I hate follow some people on Instagram. It's a compliment.
exactly. Thank you for the follow, thank you for the comment, thank you for
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
DM. My name is in your mouth at the
Thank
end of the day.
you for sharing that post with 20 people. Thank you so much.
Right.
You're helping my algorithm. You're helping my algorithm.
I
Uh,
love it.
okay, so I want to know your personal dream. Like if Cynthia were to leave this land at 120, what would you want your legacy to be and what do you hope to make and contribute?
Oh my gosh, that's such a big question. Sometimes I don't think big picture, and that's also something I'm working on.
Mhm.
I think that's part of how I limit myself, but in this past, like, maybe 6 months or so, I've been trying to dream bigger.
Mm.
So I honestly still don't have an answer for legacy, all that stuff. But I would say in like the next five-ish years, I would like to have my own show. I would like to be in charge. I would like
Just
to
want to
be
stop
the
for one
one.
second. We're not doing I would like. We're doing in 5 years, I will have my own show. I will be in charge.
I will have my own show. I will be in charge. And it will be my creative vision. I think that's what's kind of fueling me and exciting me right now. Like, I do honestly feel very like blessed to be in the position that I'm in right now. It came with a lot of sacrifice and a lot of hard work. And honestly, like my talent, you know? And so I think for me, it's about giving myself those flowers. And I have a tendency at times to downplay my accomplishments,
Mm.
but I want to stand in that power, feel confident in that space. There's sometimes conversations about having a seat at the table. I am at the table, like I built the table. I will continue to build that table. I think it's important to me to support others that feel kind of on shaky ground and feel like they don't have a seat, or maybe one of the seat legs are broken. I want to be the type of person that props you up, like I just remember at times not feeling supported. And so it's so important to me to like support younger
Yeah,
writers and Black women writers, queer writers, writers of color, and watch their growth. Like that brings me a lot of joy. Maybe that's answering the legacy question, is like supporting others and, giving them that space to be confident and be themselves and, express their voices. Like that would bring me a lot of joy.
it's beautiful. I love that vision. And it's happening. It's already said, it's written. It's written. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. I have loved being your friend, but I've also loved seeing you get the flowers you deserve. And it's just awesome when you see brilliant, talented people actually have that reflected back to them in the world.
Oh, thank you, thank you. It's been a joy to be on this journey and like have you on this journey with me. Like we've known each other for so long in like our LA lives
Isn't
at
that
this
crazy?
point.
It's a long time
It's
now.
so crazy. I know. And yeah, it's humbling to like be surrounded by people that have known me from the beginning. And I hope to continue that because, this LA Hollywood life can be very surreal,
Weird.
superficial,
It's a
weird.
weird world. It's a weird little bubble.
Okay.
I appreciate you. Can you tell everyone where we can find you?
Yes, I am on Instagram and Threads. I'm newish to Threads. It's what an exciting place. But you can find me at Cynthia, CYNT, three E's, AHA. Maybe one day I'll change that handle, but probs not. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Okay, great. We will put everything in the show notes and we will talk to you soon.
Yay.
Thank you so much for listening. If you do like listening, it would mean the world to us if you could subscribe or review the podcast anywhere that you watch or listen to the podcast. It really helps with the algorithm to share this with the world. I want to give a special thank you to young Spielberg and Sarah Yarkin for their beautiful work on our opening jingle, Dana Bulos for her help with the beautiful art, and to all of you for tuning in and keeping this dream alive.